The book of Esther has been an inspiration for both Jews and Christians. But did you know that Esther tells the tale of the happiest of Jewish holidays?
The story of Purim goes back to the 5th century before the Common Era and took place in Persia. And at that time, King Ahasuerus, as it is pronounced in Hebrew, appointed Haman, or Haman, as he is pronounced in Hebrew. Haman was a descendant of Amalek, and Haman wanted to destroy the Jewish people because he was obsessed by the fact that Mordecai, the Jew, would not bow down to him. Other people would bow down, but Mordecai refused to bow down. He would only bow down, of course, to God. And it was that refusal, that adamancy that prompted Haman to, as the scroll of Esther says, not only despise Mordecai, but to take it out on his entire people, the Jewish people.
Through a series of complex twists and turns, the Jewish Queen Esther and her adopted father Mordecai intercede with the king. They stop Haman from destroying the Jews.
Everything was topsy-turvy, was turned against him. He plotted to destroy the Jewish people. Instead, those who wanted to perpetrate that evil, Haman and his flock, were themselves destroyed. The day that was supposed to be a day of mourning, because the Jewish people were to be destroyed on that day, turned out to be a day of festival, of festivities, and of joy, and of gladness, of what's called simcha in Hebrew, of great festivities and joy.
The scroll of Esther teaches Jewish believers to rejoice at Haman's defeat.
Purim is the most festive of all the Jewish holidays. It's the time, it's very similar to what a Mardi Gras is. And from the outside, people may be looking in and see people who are walking around in Israel. They bop each other's heads with these plastic hammers and get dressed up in costumes.
Purim celebrations also include telling jokes, drinking wine, and giving gifts to the poor.
We read the book of Esther, the scroll of Esther, the Megillat Esther. And it's a fun time, too, especially for children, because one of the practices that may seem very strange from the outside, if someone visits a synagogue, is that all of a sudden they will hear booing and stomping of the feet and the turning of what's called gruggers, which are noisemakers.
But even with all of this clowning around, the story of Purim has serious implications.
In addition to the irony, there's the confluence or the coincidence of events that form an inescapable pattern of redemption. It just so happened that Mordecai heard of a plot to assassinate the king and told the king's men about it. It just so happened that Esther, this Jewish girl, was appointed as the princess. It just so happened that one series of events happened after another. Each just so happened. But that is the nature of a hidden miracle. In reality, what Jewish belief and theology suggests is that God was working through the natural order in bringing about the redemption of his people.
Rabbi Eckstein believes that Christians can celebrate Purim just as Esther and Mordecai did, by standing against the evil of religious persecution.
Christians and Jews alike, people who come into the kingdom, if you will, have that opportunity to be a blessing to one another, and have that obligation and privilege to be a part of this redemption with God in the combat against evil.
Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together.